Welcome to episode 2 of my studio desk build / studio remodel. So here we are, last episode, we got the template cut out, and now we've traced it onto some 3/4 inch plywood that I fell into as leftover material off a construction site. So I've traced the pattern onto the plywood. I managed to get 3 sides out of a 4x8 sheet of plywood. So we end up with a little over 2.5 sheets to get the 4 pieces that we need on the 3, 6, 7, 8. Yep, that's about right. So here I am cutting out the actual sides to the cabinets. Now, I'm not cutting exact. I'm cutting about an 1/8 inch from the line because after they're all cut out, I'm going to attach the template back onto the plywood and use my router to get a perfect cut on every piece. So they're all exactly the same. If you try to do it with just the saw, they're not going to be exact. You can do it that way, and you then clamp all the pieces together and spend some time sanding to get them all exact. Using the router is a lot easier. You can pick up an inexpensive router at Harbor Freight. I actually have 2 of them. I have a little laminate trimmer that I absolutely love. I think it cost me like $30. And then I've got a full-size router that uses both 1/4 inch and 1/2 inch bits. It's pretty versatile. It doesn't have all the features of my Ryobi or my Bosch, but it works pretty good, and I use it frequently. The Bosch I actually have attached to my router table that I built because it has the ability to raise and lower the router from above the table instead of trying to go underneath, and it's a lot more accurate raising and lowering. But for normal stuff, that Harbor Freight router works just great. And I don't use routers enough anymore to justify spending a lot of money on them. It's like everything else. It depends on usage. Tools, the inexpensive tools work just fine to get started. And if you find over time you wear out that tool, you're using it enough to justify buying an expensive tool. So just a little advice to you. Now, some tools, yes, the more expensive ones are better because they have finer adjustments, they're more accurate. But for most people, you really don't need that. And so determine how much you're going to use your tools before you spend a lot of money buying the top quality stuff. Because honestly, what you're paying for in those top quality tools for the most part is a tool that just has higher quality that's going to last longer. Okay, so here we are. You can see the pattern laying there on the sheet of plywood. And we're going to get it aligned and clamp it down so it doesn't move. And trace it out. So this is just repeated over and over for each side. And we can adjust the patterns on the plywood to get the most efficient use of our material. Material's too darned expensive nowadays. And even though I got these pieces for free, I still wanted to be as efficient as possible so that I can use what's left for other projects. So here I am moving the pattern around to try to get the next piece and be as efficient as possible. I really thought in the beginning that I was going to only get 2 sides out of a sheet of plywood and have just a bunch of scrap pieces, and the way it worked out, did pretty good. Got 3 out of each one. So we saved a little bit of material. I still have another project here in the studio to build some shelving to hold my albums and some miscellaneous stuff back in a cubby hole where all the junk was that you saw in that original shot. Definitely have a shirt that's too short today. Sorry about the horrible camera placement on this, but what I'm doing, and unfortunately you can't see it here, is I've clamped the template back on top of each side, and I'm routing them out to get each one to be exactly to the template. So that kind of ends this episode. Stay tuned. Come back and check out the next one, and we'll be moving on and cutting the rest of the pieces and starting to put it together.